Thanks for joining us today at Humless Energy Storage Systems. I'm Eric Lobdell at our Humless demonstration and training wall. For this video, we are showing the features of the 6 kilowatt universal and how it can be set up as a net metering string inverter. We will also be showing other settings and advantages as an inverter that can add energy storage or batteries. Currently, 99% of the residential solar installations in the US are grid-tied. While there are many grid-tied inverters, they all basically work the same way. A grid-tied inverter just pushes current. A common misconception in the US is that the solar array runs the house during the day. But in reality, a grid-tied inverter is just pushing current from the solar array. It's basically saying, since my solar array is pushing current, I will use less grid, which is a positive. But a big negative about that type of inverter is it shuts down to any utility grid failure. It's grid tied. With the utility grid shutting down more in the recent past, customers are finding that extremely frustrating. The Humless system provides a needed solution. The Humless Universal 6 kilowatt has a unique feature that allows the inverter to function like a typical grid tied inverter, but it also has functionality in it to add batteries at any other time. In grid tied mode, we push current to the net meter. Once the batteries have been added, the inverter, batteries, and solar array function together as a complete system. In short, when the utility power is off, your family will have electricity. We can do that simply by setting up the inverter in grid tied mode, which is in setting 13, operation mode. Another setting for this feature is setting 16, feed to the grid, or if ever desired, we can disable feed to the grid. The 6 kilowatt inverter can add battery storage and become an energy storage system, again, like I said, at any other time. All hardware is built into the inverter to change to a battery backup system. Here's the layout of the terminal blocks for wiring. Starting from the left is AC utility in. The next terminal block is AC output to loads. Next to that is the generator port if it's needed or required. Here is the dual MPPT ports, a positive and a negative for each one. Over here to the right are the positive and negative battery cables. They're obviously the large cables, pretty easy to see. Here we have a 20 kilowatt hour system with the Humless UL listed 5 kilowatt hour IP65 batteries. By adding the energy cell, we can go back into the settings again and change to grid tie with backup mode. There are 4 modes in that setting customers can choose from depending on their priorities and goals at the house. By doing this, the 6 kilowatt inverter has now become a battery-based inverter that has an output of up to 25 amps continuous with surges of 12,000 watts or 50 amps per 6K inverter. With an output available, now we can do load shaving with both the PV solar and the batteries. We have an output to run critical loads at a grid utility failure. This inverter can be set up in parallel. So the two 6 kilowatt inverters here are together working as a 12 kilowatt inverter. The 6 kilowatt can actually be stacked up to 6 inverters or a total of 36 kilowatt of continuous output. Here let's briefly look at getting into the setup screen and look at some basic settings. But for a full installation, always refer to the install manual to look at all the available settings for the inverter. To get into the settings screen, you press and hold the up and down buttons at the exact same time. You will see ESC, which stands for escape, pop up at the bottom. But once you are in the settings screen and you have it open, you can navigate through the settings using the up and down arrow. As an example, setting number 1 is 120 volts, which is the default setting for the USA grid. Setting number 2 is 50 or 60 hertz. Here in the US, we would choose the 60 hertz setting. All our 6 kilowatt inverters are shipped in standby mode. To take the inverter out of standby mode, turn on the BMS and battery breakers on the Humless cell, then turn on the PV switch on the right, press and hold the enter button on the inverter screen on the right for 3 to 5 seconds to turn on the AC output. Always refer to the installation guide for any more information or contact us at any time at humless.com with any other questions.